Stereotypes are kind of amusing things. The thigh high boots, the fishnet stockings, the corset, the riding crop, the smirking smile. But that's how some people still think of dominant women. That she's just stepped out of the pages of Venus and Furs and has morphed into the professional dominatrix to command her slaves to lick her boots. And possibly, if that's what floats your boat, you may get it done. But the strong, dominant woman in reality is something else altogether. Now, she may be straight, she may be kinky, slightly bent, lesbian, or bisexual. But the significant thing to know is that she is, for the most part, in control of herself and you. I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for listening to this BDSM United podcast. The topic for today is Domme, because women dom too. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy, all one word. You can also find me on uh, Facebook as an admin of Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape. You can find that at WCDT BDSM, also on Facebook. You can also find a lot of our resources on the web at bdsmunited.com. Um, Likely, unless you're one of her chosen, you'll likely never know who is and who is not a dominant woman. She rarely fits the stereotypes you imagine. The dominatrix in leather, the strong political or business mogul, the brilliant egotistical professor, or whatever other porn that you have seen. Instead, she might as easily be a housewife. Maybe she's a soldier, a clerical worker, or any of the 1,001 jobs that women today fulfill. Inside, however, she'd be one of the most strongest emotionally, maturity wise, mentally, and maybe physically, certain spiritually women you've been privileged to meet. She has to be. Her pleasure and yours depend on it. So, dominas, dames, or sometimes just dominants, because the term is gender neutral too. They usually don't go around advertising their status except in settings where it's already appropriate. For those who are lesbians or bisexual, it may be apparent by their demeanor, their posture, and attitude who and what they are. But other women, they read these signals pretty easily. For heterosexual dames, it may not be quite so apparent because men, even submissive ones, are not always up to speed on recognizing their potential mistress, nor what to do for her when they find her. The naturally dominant woman may share certain common traits. Most of them are the same as for naturally dominant men: strong self confidence, assertive body and verbal skills, well honed leadership skills, and so forth. Unlike many Doms, however, Dames have a built in instinctive understanding of sensuality and emotional power. Their variety, of course, depends greatly on their influences and the specific personality expressions unique to themselves. Some are motherly and others a lot less so. Some are playful with their stereotype, acting as imperious and chilled as they can muster, but often with that secret amused smile hovering on their lips. There is also, even among some professionals, an underlying sincere caring for the submissives that can be lacking in male dominance. While they may practice some of the usual dame sub relationship dynamics, such as humiliation, groveling, bootlicking, body worship, tasking, or any other, many dames will consider part of their submissive training to be self actuated. They may be less the control freak or micromanager than their male counterparts unless they feel it's necessary. The emotional bonding can be strong in either form of relationship, but it may be more vital in a Dame sub one. Um, that is not to infer any weakness, but simply that dames often don't feel burdened with constantly proving their macho or manly man status or their gender superiority. And why would they? What male submissives expect from a dominant woman was the topic of a previous podcast, but what female submissives gain from a dominant woman and appreciate with dames is, we believe, a deeper emotional commitment, a more sensual relationship, a more monogamous stability, bonding on multiple levels, and perhaps a more traditionally domestic dynamic. That said, as always, your mileage may vary. Thank you for listening today to this BDSM podcast where we talked about dames, dominant women. We talk a lot about power exchange relationships, and the biggest thing is that dominant and submissive relationships are not specific to any gender. They all there's not a special book or there's not special things just for women. Uh, all of the books and resources that are available for power exchange relationships are, even if they use a specific gender in describing the resource just for example purposes, they're not specific to any gender. The same thing that a man uses with a woman can use with a man can use with a woman can use with a man. It all just depends. It's all the same. There's not gender specific resources that are special just for women or just for men or anybody in between. Anyone on the spectrum. Uh, all of the resources that already exist for power exchange relationships, just change the gender specific terminology to fit your dynamic and use those. I'm Primal Piggy. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy. It's all one word. You can also find me on Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape on Facebook at WCDT BDSM. If you're listening on your favorite platform, be sure to like, to subscribe, to follow, to leave a review. That way that you can connect with us and others can also connect with this BDSM podcast of educational resources. We've been doing this since 2012, offering free online BDSM educational resources that are nonviolent, consensual, and traditional BDSM. Thank you for listening today, and good luck in your journey finding your dominant or submissive partner.